Hello and welcome back to Football Bloody Hell. I am Gary and I am again joined by my good friend Matt. Matt, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. All good, thanks. Elated this week.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
I wonder.
There
I
was
wonder
a
why.
dross final, if you watched it, last Monday.
Oh,
It
okay.
was awful for the neutrals. So if anyone switched off, I wouldn't be surprised. But a certain team, this one here, got promoted. So
Uh,
I think my blood pressure's just about dropped, which is good because
See, I forgot all about it. I didn't have a
yeah.
lot going on
Yeah,
there.
albeit it was probably the worst game of football. If you were neutral, it was probably the worst game of football to ever watch. That really not a lot happened apart from the sending off.
Not if you watched the Europa League final.
No,
If you watched that, it was trumped, I think.
yeah, it was. It was trumped by that. You would have forgotten about it by that point.
Mm.
I mean, to be fair, if you did tune in on extra time, it was quite good for the
Yeah,
extra
that was definitely the best bit.
or the last
In
minute.
both games.
If you tuned in for the last minute, it was quite exciting. But the
I think
rest of
in
the game
both
was,
games.
as a fan, it was just nerve wracking.
Mm.
And then I mean, as a neutral, it was shockingly bad. And there
Well,
was, to be fair, there was some very contentious decisions that went in our favour, but that's fine. That's fair.
well, I think we're going to get onto that anyway. But
Yeah,
this week, again, as always, even though the season's slowly coming to a close, I mean, the English League has kind of finished as of yesterday with the FA Cup, because I'll include that as part of the season.
yeah,
Still got the Liga and stuff as the final games today, I believe, as we're recording this.
yeah,
But plenty for us to talk about. I mean, we had the Europa League final, that
yeah,
playoff League One final,
yeah.
and obviously the FA Cup final. And one thing I did want to touch on is the treble for Celtic. So if you're watching, you can see some strategically placed Celtic shirts. Oh, Celtic shirt behind Matt, and proclaiming themselves now Celtic as the most successful club in Scotland.
Yeah, and we had a little chat beforehand, and we were thinking that's
Yeah,
great though. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we get 115 trophies in their history.
Yeah, 115 as of the Scottish Cup final there.
Yeah,
So
as of the win yesterday against Inverness. So you have to congratulate them on that. I mean, that's an insane amount of
absolutely.
trophies, isn't it? I mean, we won't touch on the competition in Scotland, but it's still an impressive feat, isn't it? By all means.
I mean, yeah. Again, we touched on it last week about leagues and like two horse races, and Scotland is undeniably that.
Yeah,
But it's not its own fault. It's just that's how it works. I think if you took those two clubs, Rangers and Celtic, out of that league, and it, like previously was talking about, and bringing them into the Premier League and where they would fare, but you can't help that there's just giant teams regardless, and it is going to be one of those two who wins everything. But it's no easy task to win everything in your league,
yeah,
because if it
exactly.
was, it would happen all the time. And I know they've
Yeah,
done it more than once, but you've still got to go out and do it. They had a lot of changes. They've brought in the new manager, and then obviously they recruited really well. And then I don't know. I think Rangers haven't really recovered from Gerrard leaving, and I don't think Gerrard's really
no,
recovered from leaving Rangers either.
no.
Too much too soon, I would suppose. But yeah, fair play to them. Congratulations, any Celtic fans who are listening to this. Congrats,
Yeah.
and commiserations to any Rangers fans who listen to this as well.
Also, commiserations to any Inverness Caledonian Thistle fans.
Yeah,
Getting to the Scottish Cup final is something else in itself because, well, they don't play in the top flight of Scotland. So for a Scottish Championship team to actually get to they finished 6th out of 10 as well. They weren't even close to being promoted.
yeah,
So to get to the Scottish Cup final is impressive in
it's
itself
impressive.
on their end.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we'll mention them as well.
Yeah, shout out.
They got a long name. Full name as well. Inverness Caledonian Thistle, and I've been to their ground. So there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Why weren't you there then?
Hey?
You should have been there.
Why
You
wasn't
should have been there.
What Scottish FA Cup final?
Yeah, big fan.
I've been to
Well,
Inverness Sound when there wasn't a game on. I just happened to be in Inverness.
yeah, I was. Well, funny enough, I was in Edinburgh this weekend,
Yeah,
and I drove past Hibernian Stadium, and it was right there. I didn't realise
yeah,
it
it
was my
was
wife
right
who
there.
actually said, "What stadium's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Hibernian. Oh, there it is."
Yeah.
Nice. As I drove past it, which was really frustrating because it was 20 mile an hour. Like it felt everywhere in Edinburgh. As soon as
Yeah.
you got into Edinburgh, it was 20 mile an hour everywhere. Very safe. Very nice. But since you touched on it, how are you feeling? You said that your blood pressure's come back down now.
Yeah, I'm excited now for the new season to start. I think that's it now. Um, like I said, the game was rubbish. Apart from the extra time and the game-winning goal, which was I went a bit mad for, to be honest, because it's been the whole game was just building up. Because the first half we were awful, and then
Mm.
with the sending off just after half time, it was. I don't think we actually played that well. We Barnsley went down to 10 men and we sort of let them stay in the game, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
We could have taken it to them at that point, but no, we didn't. They looked the better team from then onwards, I thought. They stepped up their game massively and we just didn't really do anything. So to get it to extra time, I think that was quite good for us, considering we
Well,
were
when
playing badly.
well when we talked about it last week, the game didn't pan out like I thought it would. It was a shutout, like I expected. I just thought it was going to be so cagey, and I think we got that. I didn't think.
Yeah.
I mean, when Windass came out at the end of the final, he was really
He was
abrupt. I mean, the
honest.
emotion might
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
yeah, he was just super honest, which it's good to see when players talk like that. But he said the quality just wasn't there. It was one of the most horrendous finals probably to watch. But I think, given the prize at the end of it, and probably the history during the league games, that's probably been playing on the minds.
Yeah.
Fatigue, and there's always that mental fatigue when you're playing on Wembley because the pitch isn't really that much bigger than most of the pitches to play on, really, outside of some of the smaller teams in League One. No offense, but like that mental fatigue behind it probably played a part as well. So I think it was
I think there
just
was
really cagey.
Yeah, I think there was a they did say about the pitch, and I think the pitch size at Wembley is the same size as Hillsborough, but
Mm.
Oakwell is, I think, a good few feet smaller.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with
It's
I
but
think that Barnsley team will do well next season. I think they're all young players and they're quite hungry and they're a very good team.
yeah,
You would expect them to do well next year. And it's a
yeah,
shame, like with the playoffs, that one team goes up, especially when you played that well. But our team's quite aging, and I think we didn't. There was signs of fatigue in extra time from our team, but I think Darren Moore did really well with the substitutes to roll them on
mm-hmm.
and sort of revitalize us a little bit.
Well, we'll touch on that there, like as a neutral watching it, which I say neutral really loosely because I wanted Sheffield to win just because of you, but I probably wanted them to lose as well because I probably have made this podcast even more interesting just to see the difference. But we'll never know. We'll never know. But in all seriousness, though, I think the start of the game, it was clear there was a tactical plan with a moving Palmer and put him into the midfield to
Yeah,
do a job. And I think watching how it panned out, there's no denying the sending off changes the game and the dynamic of it because like you say, Barnsley seemed to kick on more, but I think it was consciously done that way by Darren Moore because they'd set up a way to play. You had set up to be
yeah,
tight, kind of grind the result out because you tried to outplay them and got hammered off them. You've tried to go long and got beat off them. So he tried everything in the league games, and that was the only thing that you could do. Just kind of shut up shop, and we'll catch them somehow. And
yeah.
when the sending off took place, which I'll ask you about, um, he didn't change the tactics, and I think ultimately he won the game, so it worked. But I was surprised that there was just no like acceleration from Sheffield or Wednesday
Yeah, the
to push on.
acceleration came in extra time.
Hmm.
I thought. I thought that we started knocking on the door in extra time, but that was I was thinking, why haven't we done this for the last 45 minutes. Well, there's been we've had 10 against 11. But yeah,
Well,
it
the
came in
send
extra time. I think extra time just brought a bit of urgency to it. I don't think our players wanted penalties. They didn't
no,
seem like they wanted it. I think Barnsley were quite happy with penalties, considering they had 10 men for so long and they were knackered.
yeah,
They were quite
hmm
happy. Let's take it. And Harry Isted was having an absolute worldie of a game. So you think like if it went to penalties, he was bound to save like
yeah,
at least two of them. And
he's on
like
course for me.
he was going to get man of the match if Barnsley won, 100%.
Yeah.
But
So the sending off then, that was clear. That was probably the talking point of the game almost. I know there was a few
yeah,
contentious decisions, but was it a red?
I don't know really. It's
I
one of those.
personally think it was.
Yeah, I think
I'll put my neck out. I think it was a red card.
I I think it's the reason. I can see the reason why, because it was reckless.
Hmm
Like, and he was off the ground.
hmm
I know he didn't catch him with that. If that second leg had caught his knee, the one that went over him, I think that would have been, yeah, 100%. You can't argue with it then. But I think people were saying, oh, he was going for, it was a genuine attempt for the ball. But then when you see it in
Yeah,
slow motion, it always looks worse. And he
yeah.
was nowhere near the ball. He was off the ground and it was studs into his legs. So you
I
think,
saw.
like, yeah,
I saw.
it's reckless, isn't it? He's not in
Yeah,
control of like the tackle.
I saw the argument of people saying that he was going to play the ball. He was trying to play the ball as a pass,
Yeah,
and who did he actually hit? I forgot. Was it? I forgot the name of the guy who actually got kicked. Is it your striker? Anyway, the name will come to us probably
it
in
was
10 minutes'
Gregory,
time.
was it Gregory?
Gregory, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So he's nicked it away from him. But if you're going to pass a ball, you don't like dive in with your first foot.
No.
To me, it didn't even need checking. And funnily enough, the Barnsley player was like saying it's not a red when it was going to VAR. It's definitely not a red. Seemed confident, but for me, that's a red all day. Probably
Yeah,
the
I mean,
occasion and got to
I
him a
think
little bit. And
yeah, I think so. It's one of those classic cases of if you are going to play the ball or your touch is bad, and then you just sort of slide tackle the ball after you've had a bad touch, and
yeah,
then just absolutely clatter someone. but
so it
but the
was
fact he was off the ground as well. But yeah,
yeah,
I can see both points of view. But yeah, when you look at it from the perspective of like endangering a player, then I think
yeah.
yeah, you can't say it isn't a red card, to be honest.
And that definitely changed the momentum of the game, but not in your favour. I think Barnsley took it as
No, I think
they're
they
kind of
honestly thought, yeah, they were the better team after that, 100%.
yeah. And then I think at certain points of the game, did it start creeping into your mind that it's just not our day? Because, like you said, the keeper, he was having the game of his life at the right time, and then
Yeah, some of the saves that were going in, I think I did some of the saves. I was just thinking, yeah, this ain't going to go in. I think there was one point I can't remember who it was, but he saved one on the line, and then the follow up he tipped round to the post as well. And I was just thinking
yeah,
from like 6 yards, and you're just thinking, why isn't this going in at this point? They're knackered and they're just throwing everything
is
at
it
it. And I've
is it a
seen teams do
fora?
that before.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
That was the one.
Dominic Iorfa. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then
It
the
was,
Bannon one, like you said, he tipped it round the post, and
yeah.
as
And
time's ticking away, you're kind of
Bannon
getting
was
ready
just
for.
like, I think when he came off as well, the players looked up for it to sort of go, yeah, we're going to step up our game here. When he came off in extra time, because
Yeah,
from that point, I think Barnsley was sort of camped and we were just on the edge of the box controlling it. I thought we were much more composed on the ball and a lot less direct when the pressure was on us in that last 10 minutes or so.
hmm
Because before that, all we did was lump it up to like Gregory and then
yeah.
lose the ball, and then Barnsley just controlled the game, I think, for most of it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I, there was a couple of decisions that were made, and you creep into extra time, and as it's going, it just looked like it wasn't going to happen for either team, and
Mm.
both
You thought
teams.
I thought it was going to penalties, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it was
Well, it
until
was, yeah, until
until the fairy tale. I mean, it had to be him. It had to be Windass given all
Yeah.
the build up before the game about his dad and his
Well, they
dad
kept
saying,
panning to his dad as well, like doing exactly the
yeah,
same thing for Blackpool, weren't it? No, Hull.
yeah,
Sorry, not
yeah,
Blackpool.
Hull,
They both wear orange, but yeah, Hull.
yeah, close enough. I knew
Yeah,
what you meant, but I think if it's it's hard to not look at football and think it's not a romantic sport, because you just look at
oh
that
yeah,
story of his dad doing it and another Windass getting a winner, and up he
yeah,
popped at the right time.
exactly. And I did say last week we're going to make it hard for ourselves. It won't be
Yeah,
easy, and
yeah.
it'll be tight, and it'll be horrible, and no one will enjoy it.
So
But
what happened when Windass's goal went in?
I was
Totally.
screaming, running around my living room. Leanne came down, and yeah, she was. Oh, yeah, you all right? Like, what
I
happened?
don't think so.
So,
Do you
I
think
imagine
that's the
all the
most?
I had the back doors open, so I imagine all the neighbours heard me as well.
Is that probably the most you've ever celebrated a goal?
Um, I think in recent memory, yeah, I did celebrate when we beat Newcastle this year, and I know you'll
So
like this one.
oh
Yeah,
really?
I celebrated that one a lot because I was thinking,
Why?
like,
Why would I like that?
I wonder, I wonder why you'd like
I think
that.
I was texting you at the time.
You were like, yes, 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 yes. I think you were celebrating it more than me, weren't you? Now that's the
Yeah.
thing is like the memories I remember of celebrating goals like wildly are usually when you're down the pub. I
Mm,
remember like I think it was England in the Russia World Cup
yeah.
games, and I was down the pub for all of them, and that was wild,
Yeah.
and just beer going
Was that?
everywhere
I
and
think that
people
was the
going
birth of
mental,
the
and
beer throwing, wasn't it?
yeah,
That's like
and
a
I think
signature
like
thing.
I think at that point it's just sort of it's all a blur. The goal might have been awful, but it was
Mm,
just the fact that it was a goal. I think one of the ones I did celebrate a lot was the penalty win against Colombia.
yeah.
I went wild for that one, and the whole place was going wild, so you could not go wild. So yeah,
I think
I remember that.
outside of the Sunday Newcastle derbies, the most I've ever celebrated a goal was either actually, the most I've ever celebrated a goal, and this is a story, so you're gonna have to
Yeah,
buckle in for now. But I was driving home early morning to get the bus with my brother and one of our friends, because we were going to Bolton away. This is like a Premier League game, so that tells you how long it was ago. As I was parking my car in the street, I'd clipped the neighbour's car, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, of today of all days, like I couldn't
yeah,
bang on the door and wake them up and say, "Morning, I've just crashed my car into your car." So I leave them a note and like tell my dad, like, "Look, just they're gonna knock on and ask for the money and just say I'll pay it." And my brother's like, "Come on, you've got to come." And I was like, I can't leave now. Like, it's horrible." Like, he's like, "No, well, it's done now. What else is gonna happen?" So anyway, it gets the bus, or gets a train. I can't remember how we get there. Meet up, and there was antics getting on the train, and I fell down the stairs, running across the
not
platform
having
to
a
get
good
the
day.
connecting train into Bolton. And I never put bets on, just not because I've got an issue. Just I never win, so it's pointless.
Hmm.
So anyway, it puts this bet on, and I think it was 2-0 Sessignon to score. It gets to the ground, Bentner scores. Yes, and my brother knows I've got this bet on, doesn't know how much is on, or what the odds were. And anyway, puts his bet on. Bentner scores. It's 1-0. And then as the game's creeping on, Sessignon scores, because it was Sessignon any time to score.
Yeah,
And when it went in, it was later on in the game. I think it was maybe about it was between maybe 5 and 10 minutes left, I'm guessing, or I recollect, to make it a bit more dramatic than it probably was. And anyway, when this goal goes in, the weight of the day came off. I've got the betting slip in one hand, and I've got some guy, don't know, in the front row, diving all over, like pandemonium in the stand. Must have been celebrating for like 5-10 minutes or whatever. Well, it felt like that. And he comes back to the stand and he goes, "What? What?" And I was like, I've won. Got the betting slip out, shaking. He's like, "Get in, how much?" And I was like, "About 20 quid."
about 20 quid.
But it's
Oh,
20
I love
quid, yeah. And that was including the quid that I put on.
that.
But yeah, that outside of the Bolton game, that was probably the most I've ever celebrated a goal. And with that, we're going to take a short break.
We
And when
are.
we come back, we're going to talk about the other finals that took place last week, or this week. in the
this
FA
week
Cup and
and
the
yeah,
Europa
yesterday.
League. Welcome back to Football Bloody Hell. This is Gary and Matt.
Yeah,
Welcome back, Matt.
welcome back, Gary.
I want to talk about the FA Cup. Did you watch it?
I did. I went round to my cousin's house and we watched it together. He's a Man United fan, so yeah.
How's he feeling?
I think going into it, I don't think he wanted to win, obviously, but I don't think he expected it. And obviously, after the first 15 seconds, he was like, "Nah, no, this ain't happening today." Because that
I
goal
wonder what
from
gave him that
Gundogan,
impression.
yeah, that goal from Gundogan after 15 seconds was a screamer.
I mean, was anybody expecting that? Like, I surely wasn't. I had it on. I watched all of the intros and the build up, and I was busy cooking at the time. And then turn my back, and I hear that it's gone long to Haaland, and then just happened to turn around as it left his boot. And my God, what a goal! What a stage to do it on as well.
Yeah, I know. Hell of a strike, and like the technique was incredible. And the only thing you can say from a Man United perspective on that is they didn't clear the long ball, and no one. I get it's 15 seconds into the game. Maybe they haven't just sort of woken up properly yet, but no one was around Gundogan to put any pressure on him to actually pull off that volley.
Yeah, it looks like Eriksen's went to sleep a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's probably expecting for 15 seconds. Normally what happens is they lump it, your defender wins the header, clear the ball back up the pitch. You know, you don't expect it to drop to him in that position. But yeah, in the other side of things, you would expect Eriksen and Fred probably to be a bit deeper in that first 15 seconds just to cover any mistimed headers out of the box. But then
I think it caught
Gundogan
them
was
off.
lurking in that gap, like already, like the game was stretched. But it's only 15 seconds in. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it caught everybody off guard because you'd never
Yeah, I think
expect Man City to be as direct so quickly as well. But I suppose
No.
that's the thing with Haaland now. They've got a different dynamic to the game,
Yeah, you could just
so that
hit him.
they can do that if they need to. And I think I'd agree with you. I think they probably just weren't expecting it. But the absolute nerve of Gundogan to do that 12 seconds.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
ridiculous.
nerve to be at Wembley. What a player. In fact, he's out of contract as well. Like,
Oh, is he out of contract
probably,
this summer?
yeah, I think so.
Did they not
I think he's in the last part of
re-signed
his
him?
deal.
Or?
They're trying to renew it. Or maybe he's got a year left and that's why they're talking about it. But there's rumours of him going to Milan. What a quality player, man.
He's a great player. Like, talk about a player who turns up in big games when they need him. And that's him every time.
Wouldn't surprise us if he gets the winner in the Champions League.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Like, he stepped up, and I think you look at the players that were. I don't think any of them had a bad game really for Man City, but the players that really stood out to me is Gundogan and John Stones.
I thought
what a player,
I was
man.
just about to say John Stones as well. In that defensive midfielder role, he is class. He controls the ball so well. He looks up. He was doing very simple things, but he was just when Man United tried to do a counter attack, which I think there was a whole strategy was try and get wingers break really fast.
Yeah.
He would just get in front, break it up, slow the game down again.
Yeah.
And you were just thinking, wow. It's a good bit. And he appeared in a few positions where he needs to work on his shooting, I think. But like other than that, I think he appeared in a few positions you don't expect John Stones to be in, like on the edge of the box with the ball at his feet. And then just sort of controlling the tempo, really.
When he was at Everton, well, even from Barnsley, he's always had that in his locker. Like the way he was dictating the playing, it helps that he's playing alongside Rodri, who can take a lot of that pressure off him. But there's no question about how good John Stones is with the ball at his feet. He's always been skillful. I just think that when he's playing centre half and you try and do that, when you get caught, it's normally you concede a goal. So it's always highlighted even more if you've made a mistake as a centre half. So that pressure, he's got that ability to be confident and comfortable on the ball. I remember him being at Everton and the Everton fans going crazy and him actually in game putting his arms down and saying, "Look, calm down. It's all right. I've got this." So I think the fact that in a central, it's kind of like a new position. It's like not quite centre defensive midfielder or centre half. It's that space in between, and he just seems to
Yeah,
pick up that pocket and play. It's
I
looks
think it
easy,
is.
but
And like you said, like at some points when he's on the ball, you think he could be horizontal, couldn't he? Like with the
mm,
way he plays, he's so calm. And I think, yeah, it does probably help that he's got two defenders behind him. So if he does make a mistake or lose the ball, it's not going to be that costly.
yeah,
But he didn't seem to make any mistakes on Saturday. So
no. I just think Man City as a whole, in the first half at least, how it was only 1-0, I've no
mm,
idea. They were dominating the play as you'd expect them to. Man United tried to be compact and try not to get caught too much, but they were just going through them. And then, I mean, there's a reason they're on the cups of the treble because they're just that good at the moment, and they've
yeah,
come good at the right time towards the end of the season, coming into the form. Really looking forward to seeing them in the Champions League final. But the first half, if you score one, you're always susceptible to what happened. And what's your thoughts on Jack Grealish? Was it a penalty or no penalty?
no chance.
Hmm.
Not at all. I don't,
See why
I,
it's given,
yeah,
but even still.
I just think it's a bit ridiculous, to be honest. Like the fact that he wasn't even looking at the ball. He was coming down from a jump, so naturally your arms are already up. And he's
Mm,
headed the ball at his arm from about a foot away, and it's hit his fingertips. Like, I mean, if it goes the way, if football goes the way of where if at any point it hits your arm in the box, whether it's intentional or not, a penalty gives given, then
mhm.
defenders may as well play with no arms. Like,
Yeah,
or wingers or strikers, instead of going for goal, if they can't see a route to goal, they will just whack the ball at defenders' arms or try or aim for their arms instead of even shooting to get a penalty. So
no matter the
it can go
rule,
ridiculous the other way, can't it? As well.
yeah, like no matter the rule, there's always going to be teams looking to exploit it. Like,
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do because good managers will look at the rule and try and emphasize that onto the players because it's difficult. I think I can
yeah.
see why it was given or VAR asked the referee to come over, but at that point, I get
It
it's
was
a
common
penalty
sense from there.
under the
Yeah,
rule, but like the referee should have a little bit of like I don't know, kind of maybe arrogance is maybe not the best word, but to look at that and go, he's not looked at the ball, he's got no idea, his arms are coming back down. I'm not giving it. He's got the right to do that. But
yeah,
obviously I don't know, it seems like towards the back end of the season, VAR seems to have like fallen off again. I think it was getting
yeah. It has
decisions okay at the start of the season and then collectively towards the end of the season there just seems to be more like
more and more
errors
mistakes
made on
creeping in,
there.
aren't there?
Like, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
want to get into the Vinicius stuff because that's criminal. Like, and
yeah,
rightly so, the people were sacked. But then you look at that and you think, what is going on? They purposely missed that, so it's susceptible to that and human error, but it shouldn't be.
mm,
But anyway, so they found themselves 1-1 at half time, and
yeah.
you're thinking, could could the nick it, could they keep it tight? But again, De Gea, and I think that's the debate. I would say coming into the second half, we all know the result. It finished 2-1. And you see that come again. United early doors asleep, corner falls to Gundogan, the man of the moment at the minute. And I don't know what did you feel? I thought it was a soft goal, so soft from De Gea. You
I
might have
thought it
seen it
was.
late.
I didn't expect it, but I said to my cousin at the time, I said, if Gundogan caught that really well, that wouldn't have gone in. That would have hit one of those five defenders in front of him. Because he
Mm.
scuffed it into the ground and it's bounced about 13 times and gone about the pace of a snail, then I think it's caught everyone off guard because he's scuffed it to a
mm.
sense and it's bounced so many times, and it's a lucky goal. I thought it was good. It was quite lucky in the sense that it missed everyone. There was so many bodies in the way, and you think it's
It
missed
snuck through.
everyone, and you think like when it's bouncing as well, and it's gone under someone's legs, over someone's knee, and then past the goalie. I think De Gea actually got a hand to it, didn't he, and tipped it in. But I think,
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, I think he was unsighted. But I don't think he
it's true.
expected it. I don't think anyone expected it, to be honest. So
No,
I think it was sort of a lofted sort of cross to the edge of the box, and he's just caught it like
yeah, it
not
came from
caught
the
it very
corner,
well
didn't
as a
it?
volley. Yeah,
and then
And
he's
it's
caught
gone
him.
to the edge of the box. He's not caught it very well, and it's just bobbled. But I think
It's
if
funny.
because he didn't catch it very well, that's why it went in.
Yeah, I think when I first looked and I saw the replays, I was like, "That's a soft goal." But then, I suppose in real time, you are a little bit unsighted. He does get across to it, but I don't know. It's. I look at the fact he's won the Golden Glove this season. I kind of think how like that Man United's defense. It's been bit part. Like Luke Shaw, I'd say, has probably been their most reliable defender. There's questions over Wan-Bissaka. There's questions over Lindelof, obviously Maguire, but
Yeah,
Varane's a Rolls Royce of a defender. It's just whether he stays fit for a full season. And
I
Martinez is
think
probably going to be their main centre
yeah.
half alongside somebody who they probably recruit in the summer. But I don't know. There's questions for Man United. I think Ten Hag in his first season, he's won a trophy, finished in the Champions League. Realistically, is that a good season for Man United? I would say
I
absolutely.
think I think Man United fans would take that personally, I, purely because they've actually done. I don't think they half expected them to do. They probably expected them to be what fifth, sixth, seventh, that sort of space.
Mm.
You know, maybe
Given the
pushing the
start of the
Champions
season
League.
they had as well,
Yeah, they
that
got battered against Brighton and Brentford first two games,
mm,
didn't they? But then
yeah,
then you think like, yeah, maybe they could do something. But to be fair to him, he's done I would say he's done a great job to get him into the Champions League. One final win, one final loss. You know,
yeah,
I think that's what Man United fans probably
yeah,
could expect, and then they can build on that. Because if they just went and blown everything out of the water this season,
yeah,
then next season will be a disappointment for them because it's not
yeah.
going to happen
You just said
twice.
it there. You've just said it. Those two finals, one win, one loss in Champions League football. It's a great season.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe in the context of Man United and its history, probably not.
I think
But
in the context of the last 10 years, they'll
yeah,
take that.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
With that caveat, then absolutely. But yeah, I think overall the final it was a good final. As a neutral, there
yeah,
was question marks. There was good parts. There was probably boring parts as well. But
yeah,
overall, I think everybody expected Man City to win. And I don't know how you feel about it, but whenever I see a English team in any European capacity playing, I always root for them. I
yeah.
will. There'll probably be one team next year that I won't be rooting for in the Champions League, and I'll let
Newcastle.
everybody listening guess. No, I didn't
I'll
say
just
that. I
shout it
didn't
out.
say that. You said
I'll
it,
say
not
it
me.
then. I'll say it for you.
Yeah. But and the whole like I want West Ham to win the conference,
Yeah,
and I want Man City to do the treble just because, like we said with Celtic, it's not easy to do. It's such a difficult thing to do, regardless. And
yeah, exactly.
I hope they do. I really do. Are you the same?
Uh, yeah, I would say so. There's like you said with certain clubs that you aren't a big fan of, but in a European capacity, you do tend to want you always keep an eye out for the English teams that are playing in it, and then
Mm.
I always keep an eye out for whether they're doing well or are they going to qualify to a certain stage, these sort of things. But
So
then,
before,
yeah,
no, I'd agree. So I think before we move on and take another short break,
yeah,
heading and before we talk about the Europa League final, and we've kept the best till last, clearly. um, do City win the treble? Because Inter Milan, they've won the last 12 out of the 13, and I think a lot of people are writing them off, and I don't think I want City to do it, but I just don't think it's going to be plain sailing by any
no,
means.
I think it's going to be quite close. So it's going to be quite similar to the FA Cup final yesterday. I think Man City are going to control quite a lot of the ball, but Inter are going to actually be more of a threat than Man United going
Yeah,
forward. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Man City probably will edge it, especially if
yeah.
Gundogan decides that he's just going to turn up in a final and in a big game for him again and again and
Mm.
again.
Well, I
So
think styles
yeah,
make matches, and
yeah,
Inter are probably a team suited to play against Man City. But if I was to put a winner on it, I'd think Man City within the
yeah.
90. I don't think it goes the distance. I think 90 minutes.
No, I think they
It'll
will.
be Man
Yeah,
City.
I think it'll be 90 minutes as well. I'll be watching it. I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah.
But
So we'll take another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Europa League.
we will indeed.
So best till last, Europa League. Here we go. I don't think I've sat through a game and felt like it was as long as it was.
Well, it did go the distance. So like,
it was incredible. For if you take the football side away from it, I mean, what a spectacle! The amount of yellow cards towards the end of the game and the kind of shenanigans on
yeah,
on the touchline, and then obviously like what happened with well, I mean, it's everywhere now, and the abuse that the refs and the officials have been getting, it's criminal.
yeah.
And I think, I don't know, it's bad. You can argue with referees and things, and they're never going to get things right. And I've had in the terraces definitely give my fair share of abuse to a referee, but in the context that it's League One referees, and you know all about them, Matt, they're horrendous. But I don't know. If we just touch on the game, which is probably what I would want to stick to.
Yeah. The one thing I would want to say about referees as well is football wouldn't exist without them. So we have to remember that you have to, yeah, they're going to make mistakes, but we're all human at the end of the day. And there's no need for any of the abuse that Anthony Taylor's had, to be honest, off the back of that.
It's bad. It is bad.
Mistakes are going to happen, but that Europa League final wouldn't have happened if we didn't have a referee.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to all refs out there.
Exactly, yeah.
From top to bottom.
You're doing a great job. Keep going.
You're not. That's why. No, do better. No,
Gary wants football with no refs.
Yeah, the carnage. I just want to see Mourinho start choking people on the pitch. But as a final, yeah, it was bad. I think it's been talked about like all week, and if they didn't have the drama at the end of the game, it was a very forgettable final. However, I don't think you can take away anything from Sevilla and their 7th Europa League title. Is there any point in even playing them?
Yeah.
You know they're going to win it.
The thing at this point, if Sevilla are in the Europa League, they will win it. They're a bit like the Real Madrid of the Champions, like Real Madrid of the Champions League. Sevilla just love winning, no matter who their manager is as well. Like they just love winning the Europa League. They're gonna be in the Champions League next year, though, aren't they? Because they won this.
Yeah.
So
that's why it's not back to back to back, is it? Because they have a season out, do the Champions League, don't really do much, and then back in Europa, win it, back in Champions League.
I would laugh a lot if they finished 3rd in their group deliberately so they could go and win the Europa League again.
Just take a shortcut. Shortcut to the finals. You're right. I mean, what a tactical masterpiece that would be.
That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah. Absolute tactical masterpiece. Because you think about it, if they did finish 3rd, they obviously wouldn't try to finish 3rd, but if they did finish 3rd and drop into the Europa League, all those teams that think, yeah, we got a chance in the Europa League next season would be thinking, oh, Sevilla's back in it again. May as well go home. May as well go home. Like, just come up, yeah. It's like, but they always find a way to win. So as soon as that final is announced, I know Mourinho's got a really good record in European finals. Sevilla in the final in the Europa League.
It was a perfect record. It was a perfect record until something had to give. Something had to give.
And the one team that are going to beat them is going to be Sevilla in the final in the Europa League, which is their competition. It may as well be.
It is. Yeah, Sevilla's competition. I think as well, you look at it and I can maybe not justifying any of the abuse that Taylor got, but I can probably see some of the frustration that's boiled over in the game because it was a penalty.
Yeah.
Again, another thing with VAR and VAR being the talking point, but that changes the game again, and there wasn't a lot of moments in the game, and I think that was the moment. And in my opinion, it was a penalty. I don't know if you happen to see it.
No, I agree with you. I think it is, and then that's the thing is again, isn't it? Like these big mistakes keep cropping up at important points. The abuse shouldn't have happened at all, but I can see where the frustrations are boiled over, like you said. I agree with you at that point. But then you have to think of the other end of things. The game did go the distance, and Roma only scored one of their penalties.
Yeah.
So, it was a penalty, but you still have to try and win the game after that. Like, you have to.
Yeah.
I think the frustration got the better of them, and then they just lost it from there.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, I'd agree. I think it was interesting seeing Dybala and Abraham come off, and I think obviously tired legs. A strange time to play the final as well because they had a week game. Week game. They had a league game following that on the Saturday or the Sunday. I can't remember exactly now. I'm getting confused with my days. Strange time to play the final, but there was maybe that in the back of the mind. But neither team really committed to the final, I would say, until it came to the penalties and there was only going to be one winner, and up steps the man from the World Cup. And I mean, it takes some bottle to have your penalty, because I if I put myself in that position, would you go the same spot or would you change it? I think I'd stick to it. I couldn't change it, and I would just try and place it again. But he changed and obviously won the game.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one with penalties because I think one of the main things is to keep calm and just hit the target, really, and make the goalkeeper work. Because if you think too much about it, you'll probably miss. If you really think too much about it, you'll probably either put it over the bar or you'll just whack it straight at the goalkeeper. Like, I think it's more of a case of step up, do what you've always done, try and blank it all out, and just smash it in, really. But it takes some bottle to do it, especially in a final. But
and I suppose now we're obviously at the very end of the footballing season. I know there's other things going on, and we're coming up to the Champions League. Obviously, that's the in inverted commas. I love this doing that. The Champions League final and the Europa Conference League final. I think this season it's been crazy. I just think overall there's been so much happened, so many changes in management in terms of like English leagues, and I think it's all the finals that we've had have been really cagey. Extra time and last minute winners and last minute drama and blood pressures going up and down through the roof. So I think if you're watching and you're just a fan of football in general, there's been both ends of the spectrum, absolute dross and absolute pure elation watching it. So I'm looking forward to the Champions League final.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Conference League final as well. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to root for West Ham.
Yeah, me too.
I do hope they win. And then they'll be in the Europa League next year, and hoping Sevilla aren't dropping in from being third place in the Champions League. But yeah.
Well, I think next week as well we'll touch on both those finals.
We will.
So a little preview for next week, and that's it, Matt. I think we've reached the time of the podcast where we have to say goodbye. And thank you. Just to touch on anybody who listened, thank you so much. Quite surprised and taken aback by the listeners that we've had. So thank you to everybody who's listened, liked, subscribed, shared. Matt, I'm going to be really bad, and you're going to have to tell everybody our handles if you can pull them up quick enough, because I can't remember them because they're so new. So if we take it, what we'll do is when we post the video, we'll put all of our handles and our Twitter, our YouTube channel, and the podcast. And again, please just like, share, subscribe, and support the podcast if you enjoyed it. And if you didn't enjoy it, please do it anyway, because we really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, we do indeed. And as Gary said, reiterated, thank you to everyone who's listened in. We've had a couple of people give us feedback from the first one, and that's great, so keep that coming. But yeah, we've got Instagram, the FBH pod. We've got the FBH podcast on Twitter. Obviously on Spotify, it's Football Bloody Hell.
Bloody hell.
We will be uploading some of these videos to YouTube and clips and things like this on TikTok, which for us is like old men using TikTok. But yeah, no, we're gonna give it a go. Upload some funny clips.
We'll give that one a go.
And that one's the FBH podcast and FBH podcast on YouTube as well. So there's all the handles. We're done.
Thank you. We're done now. better prepared. We'll get prepared more as,
Yeah,
as,
we
as
will.
we
Yeah,
get through the podcast. But yeah, again,
exactly.
thank you so much, Matt. And I'll
Yeah,
speak to you again soon.
yeah. Cheers, Gary. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Ta-ra.